Hi, we're here in the 1930s Broadcast Museum. Welcome, and I'm here with Don McKinley. Don, thanks for letting us be here.
Welcome. Entirely welcome.
This museum is looks at living, working, playing on a farm in the 1930s. I mean, it looks at the entire life. As you look around the museum, all of life in the 1930s is covered here.
Absolutely.
But one of the major thrusts of this museum, it's apparent to me, is to deal with the transition from animal power to mechanized power. And that first happened on the farm with steam tractors.
Yes.
And stationary steam engines, and then steam tractors. And so your father was Ira McKinley, who
Correct.
was a farmer. Did Ira ever have a steam tractor on his farm?
No, he did not. He did not. Steam tractors, well, the steam engine was invented by some Englishman in, 1698 or something like that. And there were many years in there where steam engines were available. But it wasn't until, something like 1869 that somebody put that steam engine on four wheels and made it go forward and back. And when that occurred, now we have a steam engine tractor. And they were built up until about 1920, I believe. But they were big, Mike. They were big and they were cumbersome, and you couldn't turn them around very quickly. Frankly, they were dangerous, especially in threshing time or where there was dry grass around anywhere. Those things would spit hot coals out, and you'd get a field on fire and nothing flat. So they really fell the minute that the gas engine came in. The minute that the gas engine, farmers gravitated quickly toward the tractor, toward the gas tractor.
The traditional gas tractor.
The traditional gas tractor, because that thing was big and cumbersome.
So
no, Dad did not have one.
Okay. So the real revolution happened with the advent of the practical gas tractor.
Correct.
When was that?
Well, the gas tractor came about in kind of the same way. Somebody came up with a gas engine, and they used those stationary gas engines in many things in the late 1800s. And a guy by the name of Froelich came along and put that gas engine on a frame with four wheels again. And again, he got it to where it would move back and forth, forward and backward. So that was the very first gas engine tractor. And he established in Waterloo, Iowa, the Froelich Gasoline Engine Company. And they produced a few here and a few there. That wasn't entirely satisfactory. But by 1914, he turned out in 1 year 118 of these Froelich tractors. John Deere noticed this, kept track of what was going on with the Waterloo Boy gas engine, is what they called it. After Froelich moved to Waterloo, it became the Waterloo Boy gas stationary engines in this tractor. Deere bought them in 1918, bought the Waterloo Boy gas engine tractors. And it's been going ever since on the John Deere line.
So 1918 was when Deere bought it.
Yeah.
And was that considered, now looking back in time, was that considered a practical tractor yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was
Interestingly enough, when the Waterloo engine was being made in Waterloo, Henry Ford came up, decided to turn one of his Model Ts into a tractor. And so he'd take off I don't know, an axle and two wheels and add something to that Model T, and you could go out and plow your field with this Model T. That didn't last too long, but it was there. Yeah, Mike, from 1910 to 1925, there were 250 gasoline tractor manufacturers in the United States.
So not 250 tractors manufactured, but 250 manufacturers of gasoline tractors.
That's correct. And some of those dudes would advertise, we've got the best tractor in the country, and they hadn't made a one of them. They were hoping that farmers would bite on it, send them money so they could get enough money to buy goods to make that tractor. They had the design, but they never made one. But very quickly, the little guys dropped out. I can't give you a direct figure right now, but I think in 1921, that 250 was reduced to 186 companies making. And just 9 years later, there were only 7 tractor companies left. International Harvester was making more than anybody else at that time. John Deere was second. And then, of course, came Oliver and Massey Harris and Case. And there were 7 companies in 1930.
Okay.
If you ask...
And you keep pointing over your shoulder because this is a John Deere tractor behind us.
This is our John Deere tractor.
Okay.
By the way, the museum in 1930s, what you see in here in this museum is the best there was available in the 1930s. This tractor was as good as any of them in 1930s. The evolution then, we're talking about the evolution of that tractor is amazing since 1900 on up to in the last 100 years. It's just blows your mind what the tractor of today. But this is as good as it got in 1930.
So when was this tractor built?
1930. This particular one in 1936.
Okay. But they were making this model. When did they start making this model tractor?
1934.
1934. And this model tractor replaced the horse.
On many, many farms.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so if I was to pull an implement, 1 horse, 2 horses.
2 horses, probably.
This tractor would replace 2 horses.
Absolutely.
Would it replace 4 horses?
With some equipment, with some implements, it would have, yes. We always put a 4-horse team on a 4-section harrow, a harrow corn, for instance, and this thing could replace those 4 in that job. This wouldn't have pulled 3 or 4 moldboard plows. You could get that done with 4 or even 6 horses, but this was not able to do. This is a 14 horsepower on the drawbar. It's 18 horsepower on the pulley. So it wasn't really. I've got a lawnmower today with more horsepower than this thing has, but it was geared down. And it would go 24/7 if you wanted it to.
Okay. So you didn't have to stop and feed it like you did the horse.
Or clean up after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. There's the story of the museum, the tractor here at the 1930s Ag Museum. And please feel free to look around and see what else you can see.